Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Pavitra, and if you like the content of my lectures, please subscribe and share among your academic group so that we can all learn pediatrics together. Today I will be discussing with you guys about how to prepare for a recent advances paper in pediatrics. This is something that terrifies most of us, isn't it so? So I will try to break it down and let us see how we go about preparing for this important paper. I'll be discussing just the DNB papers because it is common all across India, whereas your MDDCH papers varies according to the university. DNB started having this recent advances paper since December 2018. If you see this paper, you can see that most of the questions are about investigations and treatment. Correct? So this each paper will have 10 questions, and among them each question will have 2 questions each. So basically you have to write 20 questions in a single paper for 5 marks each, total of 100 marks. Correct? So this is part A of December 2018. So we will see what questions we can answer easily without having any extra preparation. We will note answer about indications for splenectomy. Calcium regulation, yes, to some extent we can answer. Management of DKA, we can answer. Steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome is a clinical case, we will know. Diagnostic approach to precocious puberty is a standard question, so there's no excuse for that. And here, if you see bronchiolitis, yes, you can answer. HIV positive mother newborn, you can answer. Then suspected immunodeficiency is a standard question. Serological tests in celiac disease, pancreatic enzyme insufficiency, congenital hypothyroidism. So these are all sort of standard questions that you know how to answer. If you see the rest of the questions, what are you noting? What you see is that these questions are investigations and management for diseases that we know already, but that we don't read. Correct? Acute leukemia, you know, but you don't actually sit and read about immunophenotyping. So there you will get bowled out. Anti-cytokine drugs. Cytokine, every time we turn a rheumatological disease, we come across the cytokine, but you don't actually give importance to it. So there they have asked. Recent advances in diagnosis of tuberculosis, I think you can expect that in almost every paper. So there's no excuse for us to leave it out from our schedule of reading. Hematopoietic growth factors, again, you know, but you don't actually sit and spend time towards it. Spinal muscular atrophy, if you see, it's the actual advance that was asked because of the new drug that was introduced. And renal scans, this is a common question. You can't put it as an advance, but this is something that we skip. So what I'm trying to tell is these are all things that we know, but we don't spend time to read for these questions. And those questions are asked in this recent advances paper, and that is why I think we find it very difficult. If you look at the June 2019 paper, what are the questions that you can answer actually? You can answer this intrauterine fetal therapy to some extent. PCR, yes, to some extent. Bone marrow aspiration, yes. CB-NAT, yes. Tuberculosis, see, again a tuberculosis question. Then nitric oxide, yes. If you have read, you will be able to answer. Human milk bank, yes. High flow nasal cannula, yes. Then these are all clinical questions, yes, you can answer. NRP, cerebral palsy, this is looking fairly straightforward. Not much of advance, except for this simulation question, which will be a complete rider for you guys if you have not been exposed to this topic. You will know maybe 1 or 2 sentences in it. Okay. So again, if you see, most of them are based upon investigations and treatment. Nothing much new. Okay. The latest, I'm sorry for the error, it's December 2019 paper. So again, if you see hemophilia, it's been repeated again. You have this liver biopsy, which is coming up again. The difficult questions here will be a PET scan, again an investigation. Diagnostic cardiac catheterization, again an investigation. Social pediatrics, I'm hoping I'll be able to make a video in the near future because we find that difficult topic to prepare for. Rituximab, a treatment. Palliative care in terminally ill children, very vague question. Then neonatal mortality scoring systems, unless you have concentrated on it, you will not know anything about it. Then fetal origin of adult diseases, somewhere you would have heard the topic, but you would not have read it. So those are the sort of questions that I see commonly getting repeated in recent advances paper. So basically it is investigations, treatment, something on social pediatrics, some vague questions here and there that you might have heard but not have read. But you do have 3 to 4 questions in them that you would have read in your daily exam preparation course. Correct. So out of 20 questions, what you can see is easily say 6 to 8 questions total will be something that you already know. So you will not have to put extra effort towards reading it. What about the rest 10 to 15 questions? So for that, you need some extra preparation. So concentrate on ready-made materials. What are the ready-made materials available for you guys? It's Indian Journal of Practical Pediatrics, Indian Pediatrics, even Indian Journal of Pediatrics can be included. At least the last 3 papers. See, suppose for the coming theory exam in DNB, you can read the past 3 years from say 2017, 18, 19 and 2022 issues are available, and they are available free for download in the IJPP website. You can go and download it easily. But what you see is every year minimum 2 to 3 questions will be asked from the past 3 years IJPP. Okay. So if you read that, I'm talking about only paper 4. I'm not talking about the other 3 papers at all. The recent advances paper alone will contain at least 2 to 3 questions. So that is something that can be scored easily if you prepare for it. What about your publication and guidelines? There's a separate page in IAP website. If you see, and they have the recommendation and guidelines listed out. So one question is definitely asked per year from the listed out recommendation and guidelines. So we have covered 4 questions that you may not actually read in the course of preparation. How to read from Indian Pediatrics? Indian Journal of Pediatrics is okay. Practical Pediatrics, they all have review articles that are in the format of writing an answer. Whereas Indian Pediatrics may not be so. So Indian Pediatrics concentrate on review articles, read consensus guidelines and recommendations, any research letters, updates that have been published, and see what general topics of interest have been in the recent papers. Suppose they have discussed about autism in 1 year, 1 month paper, and in another paper they have concentrated solely on celiac disease. So from those topics you can expect questions. Suppose there is a original research paper on the incidence of celiac disease, blah 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 blah, then you can expect a question on celiac disease. It may not be a direct question, but it will be like an investigation or the management guidelines for management of celiac disease, etc. It will be like that. So I have tried to put possible questions from Indian Pediatrics starting from January 2020. So newborn screening with congenital adrenal hyperplasia. All of us would have read hypothyroidism, but we will not be touching about congenital adrenal hyperplasia. We would have concentrated on steroid biosynthesis or 21 hydroxylase deficiency, adrenal crisis management, etc. But newborn screening and diagnosis is something that is there in January 2020, and you can expect that. And social pediatrics, see, definitely one question will be asked just in the recent advances paper. So the recent thing that they're concentrating on is this Poshan Abhiyan project. And I would request all of you guys to go through that. In February, congenital heart disease, timing of diagnosis and intervention, management of CAH, antisense oligonucleotides. See, this is a very, very probable question that can be asked because people are fond of asking about investigation and treatment. Correct? Then refractory, super refractory status epilepticus, bioethics. See, bioethics is a vague question. Unless you actually read for it, you will not be able to write. The thing is, you have very limited time for writing down the answers. Okay, if it is for say MDDCH, which has 10 questions, it's for 3 years. In DNB, you have 20 questions for the same 3 years, 5 marks each. Almost the timing will be balanced, I would say, because for 10 marks you need to write that much content, but for 5 marks you need to write less, but you need to write more questions rather. Correct. So unless you know what to write, you cannot afford to sit and think and have a formulation of what needs to go into the answer. Am I right? Bioethics, if you sit and think for 5 minutes, you have lost that precious time to write down your answer. If you already know, you can spend, say, 30-40 seconds having a mental chart of how to put it down on paper. So I urge you guys to read these kind of vague topics that you will not find in your standard textbooks. Again, therapeutic enteral formula is one such topic. Then pediatric renovascular hypertension, renal biopsy. Again, this can be very well asked because this is a standard investigation that we do, but we may not be able to put it down in writing very well. Then genomic testing for diagnosis of genetic disorders. This genetic testing is a sort of question that keeps getting repeated. It may not be in your paper on recent advances, but at least 1 or 2 questions on some sort of genetic testing is being asked consistently. So I would highly recommend that you guys go through that. An introduction to systems in Nelson. See, most of us tend to skip this topic, including me. Okay, I am also guilty. I'm just like you guys. What I will do is I will open the chapter and I will skip to direct diseases. I will leave out the initial introduction part, where they talk about the pathogenesis or some investigations or the treatment. Say for rheumatic disease, the first 2 chapters are actually evaluation and treatment. I will skip this and directly go to JIA, Kawasaki, etc. Suppose in allergic disorder, see, there is a basis and diagnosis. I will skip this and directly go to atopic dermatitis, asthma, those sort of discussions. Similarly, in cardiovascular system, laboratory cardiac evaluation. If you actually read this chapter, you will be able to answer the digital cardiac catheterization, at least few sentences. But what do? We skip this to go directly to reading about PDA, VSD, ASD, etc. Correct? So I request you guys to give importance to these initial chapters, at least the topics which catch your eye. Okay, because what is catching your eye will also catch the examiner's eye, isn't it so? So read those topics. At least know 4 to 5 sentences in each topic. Rest you can build up during exam. Okay, but you need to know at least what it is so that you can build something on it. If you don't know anything, it is very difficult to build castles in air. IAP lectures. See, you have this very nice lecture, how to say, lecture encyclopedia in your hand, which was not available to us earlier. Correct. But having said that, listen to lectures on topics that you don't know, or when ready-made material is not available. Suppose you already know about a particular topic, say congenital hypothyroidism. You know very well, you have prepared your notes on it, or you have read from a textbook and you are very confident about answering every question. Don't go and listen to that lecture for 2 hours. Okay, it is not going to help you now. You can listen to it after your exams are over to improve your knowledge. I'm not telling no. But now, with a very limited time span for preparation, don't spend your time for 2 hours listening to a topic that you already know. Okay, so listen to things that you do not know. All right. So if you listen to it at least once and you make notes, the next time revision will be very easy for you guys. So some of the IAP lectures that you can listen to are on personal protective equipment, teleconsulting, telemedicine, critical rashes in pediatrics, psychological wellness. I am listing out topics that, how to say, we will not touch upon, or we will know but actually not know much. Autism though we tell autism, yes, autism, but when you actually put your pen to paper, you will be completely blank. You will not know what to write, where to start, where to end. So for those topic, for those type of questions, listen to your lecture and make notes. So that will help you actually to build your answers, and it will give you a very good idea as to how to go about a question that is asked, even a related question. It may not be a direct question. I stress this again and again. Take notes. If you're listening to a lecture, take notes, revise those notes, re-revise those notes. Again, these are some of the lectures that you can listen to. It is available on IAP website, and you can listen to it anytime. One thing I would like to say though is, at this current point in time, when a topic is asked, see, most of the topics, they discuss some sort of case scenarios and then actually go into the topic. You can maybe skip the case scenario part to save time, basically, and give importance to COVID specific questions this time. Okay, because this is an ongoing pandemic. This is the current topic that is going on fire, and you can definitely expect questions in your recent advances or other papers. So divide this COVID into two: COVID, about the coronavirus, and something related to it, like a social pediatrics, or how to say, a general discussion. See, for coronavirus, what can be asked? They can just ask a basic blank question like COVID-19. Okay. Or pathogenesis, about how do you investigate, what are the investigations available, what are the managements available, what is the prophylactic available, medications like tocilizumab. They can ask specific medications. They may not tell this is related to COVID. Okay. So they can just ask a role of tocilizumab, or say chloroquine, or whatever it may be, favipiravir, famotidine, whatever medications that they have discussed so far, they can ask that. They may even ask about some trials like the recovery trial, that can be asked. Usually they don't ask these kind of trials, but in this situation we don't know what can be asked, so better to know at least few words upon it. Then prevention, ICU management in resource poor settings, individual systemic manifestations of COVID, like you have the pediatric multi-system inflammatory syndrome, you have gut manifestations. So read about individual systemic manifestations which you have materials on. Related community pediatrics, see, they can ask what is the endemic, epidemic, pandemic, what is the basic reproduction number, what is happening to the pediatric immunizations during this COVID period, hand hygiene, personal protective equipment, do's and don'ts of face mask, how do you do OPD management, etc. So what can you expect for this coming DNB paper 4 or any recent advances pediatrics paper for that matter? COVID, 100%, you will get questions. Okay, at least 3 to 4 questions, pakka, sure shot. So be sure to read everything in and out about COVID. Investigations about specific diseases. Management about specific diseases, give importance to questions that have been asked earlier. Okay, so there's a very high chance that questions will be repeated. So give importance to those. Immunomodulatory medications especially, and biologic agents, they are giving importance. At least one question is being asked, so give importance to that. Social pediatrics, definitely one question is there in recent advances. So refer to the NRHM website and see what is the latest in social pediatrics, what is the latest programs that they are introducing, and read at least few words on it so that you will not be blank during examination. And direct questions, you have ready-made questions, ready-made answers available in the journals like IJPP. So go through them so that you know what you can expect. If not in this paper, at least you will get in other papers, right? So you will be able to answer those. So be prepared for these questions. So how to study? You are the best judge. I cannot tell you to study in groups. I cannot study to tell you alone. See, if you have been studying alone so far, continue studying alone. Don't jump into a group because they may not be in the same wavelength as you. And if they are not, then you actually end up losing rather than gaining anything. If you are used to studying in groups, well and good, continue studying in groups. See, groups has the advantage of actually saving time. Say suppose there are some 2 to 3 lectures that you guys want to listen. One person can listen to lecture 1, second person to 2, third person to 3, and you can put all of those together, and finally in the same span of 2 hours all 3 of you would have finished listening to the lecture, and you can exchange your notes by discussing it. Always teach others. Okay, if you teach others, you will remember better, and you will know which areas you actually have lacunae in. Suppose when I am teaching you guys, and at that point I will realize, aha, I don't know what this actually means. So I will stop then and there and try to ask someone who knows, or ask someone to find out what it is, so that I will understand and I will retain that part. Rote memorizing is not going to help you. Try to use your sticky notes. Okay, so especially for things that you think you will forget. Suppose there is a triad of something that is being asked continuously and you tend to continuously forget it, put a sticky note and put it on your wall. So every day when you get up, look at that, give a small revision. Suppose you have some medication. See, this medication is one nonsense topic, all right, to be very honest. I hate questions which come on medications. You continuously treat the patients, but it is our mistake, I agree. But writing it down on a paper, it is very frustrating. You will not be able to remember when it starts its action, when it's how long is the duration of action, when is it getting excreted, how is it getting excreted, etc. You will know the dosage and you will know the adverse reactions. That's all. Only a head and tail you will know. No body will be there. So to avoid having these sorts of frustrations in your exam hall, you can put up sticky notes upon drugs on your wall, so that every day when you at least pass by, just look at that and have a go through, so that it continuously gets reminded again and again in your brain, and it will not be a struggle for you to remember during your exams. And try to teach others. Again, it is very very important for you also to remember, for the other person also to remember, because you're using all your senses. You're using your eyes, you're using your hands, you're using your ears, everything. Correct? Take notes, not for everything. Okay, if you already are reading from a textbook, don't again put it down on a notebook. Okay, unless the topic is very complicated in the textbook and you feel you will not be able to reread it again, spend some time, put it down in notes. I don't disagree, but try not to put everything in notes right now. Right now is not the time. Okay, you can take digital notes. Suppose there's a long table which is very important for courses, don't waste your time writing down everything again in your notebook. Just put it down in a Word document, put it down in a OneNote or whichever is comfortable for you. If you can read from your tablet or laptop, then it is fine. If you are someone like me who feels writing, having a physical contact with study material helps you remember better, take printout. Don't be conjuice now and say, I don't want to spend money on Xeroxes or printouts. Don't be like that. Now is the time to spend. Don't hesitate. Take a printout and put it down in a file. Okay, and keep revising that. Keep revising your notes. What not to do is don't overanalyze and don't overthink. Okay, you don't have to read something very deeply right now. You should have done that in the past 2 to 3 years. Okay, not in the last 2 to 3 months. What this will do is this will just consume all your time that you can spend for actual preparation for your exams. Okay, in-depth reading during exams is okay if you already know the topic, but if you don't know, don't spend that much time studying. Ask someone to teach you or listen to a lecture that is already available. That will actually save time for you. So time is of essence. Okay, don't waste your time in unnecessary activities. Put your phone in airplane mode and chuck it outside. Okay, this phone is the most time consuming equipment ever. You will think, I will just look at my WhatsApp for 5 minutes and come back. This 5 minutes will turn into a complete half an hour. You will check your WhatsApp, you will go to Telegram, you will check out YouTube, you will check up XYZ, and by the time you come back, you would have lost the flow. All right, so don't get distracted. Concentrate, sit and study in a place where there are no distractions. If you have distractions, put them in a drawer and shut it tight. Okay, you should be surrounded by books and people who are aiming only to study, not do anything else. All right, revise and re-revise. See, this will sound counterintuitive. You are saying time is of essence, but you're asking me to read something again and again. See, what happens is, reading in a very descriptive manner is fine. You will know a little bit about everything which is required. But if you read the same thing after say a week or two, you will find that you're spending again the same amount of time. Say, suppose you took 2 hours to read one topic the first time. The second time you read is also taking the same 1.5 to 2 hours. Then there is no point. Correct? You are again losing time. But instead, if you read the topic, revise it once or twice. Then each time you revise, the amount you spend on the same question comes down. So what I would suggest you do is, as soon as you get up in the morning, give a revision of whatever you have read the previous day. Maybe half an hour to 45 minutes, maximum 1 hour, not more than that. Okay, don't think of this as time that is lost, time that you could have spent studying something new. No, it is not like that. If you spend this time now, you will not regret it later. Okay, just trust me, please, because I have also been there. I have also done this not revising part because I felt it was a waste of time, but I regretted it later. I felt if I had only revised earlier. So don't do the same mistakes. Okay, revise well and then start with a new topic. And the next day, revise the new topics that you have done. Suppose you have some extra time in your hands. Say you have a weekend that is free, you don't have to go to a duty. So I know this is COVID time and most of us are on active duties everywhere, isn't it so? So you get limited time. But in case you get extra hours, rest up. That is first thing I will tell you. Rest, because you do need rest, physical and mental rest. Then from the free time that you have, spend half of it for revising what you have read in the past 1 week. Okay, again this is very very important, because see, by the time you do the last revision in the last 1 or 2 weeks before the exam, you would have read the same topic at least twice or thrice, and you will feel more confident. Okay, and whenever you start a new topic, say you are starting about cardiovascular system, and you know a few questions very well, finish off those questions first in your revision. That will give you a confidence that I have completed nearly half of cardiovascular system now, and I know these questions very well, and if asked, I can answer them. And then start with a new question. Okay, so with this boost of already knowing these questions, and you will feel happy that I've completed nearly half of cardiovascular system in less than half of the time that I have allotted for cardiovascular system. Correct. So suppose you have allotted, say, 8 hours total for cardiovascular system. You would have completed this revision in 2 hours. Half of cardiovascular system will be over and you will feel really, really happy. And you can spend the rest of 6 hours actually reading topics that you are not very confident in. And by the time you finish, you will have, a well-rounded idea about cardiovascular system, and you will be able to answer any question that is asked. So all the best, guys. You have got what it takes, but it will take everything you have got, especially in the current time, to nail your target. Okay, you know everything, you have studied everything, you have seen patients these past 2 to 3 years. This is not something new. What you're doing now is just brushing upon topics that you may not have read theoretically. That's all. Practical things, all of you know. Okay, all of you have to have the mental framework to put what you know in writing comfortably in a paper, and that we will discuss during our next lecture. Thank you, guys. Bye, take care, and all the best.